Now, with just 2 days to go, speculation is mounting around the Queen's Christmas Day speech and what Her Majesty will say about this extraordinary year. Sunday Times royal correspondent Roya Nikkah joins me now. Good morning to you. And normally the Queen would have recorded this some time ago, but I'm presuming because of, Tier 4 has changed, lots of things keep changing. So will this is her 68th Christmas Day address, will it be really quite up to date, do you think?
Well, I mean, everything about Christmas is different for everyone this year. But of course, one constant is the Queen's speech. I'm told she actually recorded it a couple of weeks ago. So it hasn't been re-recorded with each extraordinary development about coronavirus. But I'm told she took a very broad brush approach. I think, the Queen knew this was going to be a difficult Christmas for everyone, even 2 weeks ago. So there's no doubt that she will be addressing, as she did in that extraordinary morale-lifting speech back in April, she will be addressing what an incredibly difficult year this has been for everyone. And I think, so many people in the country who will be at home alone this Christmas will look to the Queen's speech, will look to hear what she has to say as a sort of hope that this will be a morale-boosting uplift and encouragement for the nation to keep on going in a very difficult time. And I'm sure it'll probably get a record audience.
And it's interesting because I think they announced that they would be spending Christmas quite differently too, didn't they? What are the royals doing this year?
It's a completely different Christmas for the royal family. So, of course, normally the Queen, we can see her there, would be at Sandringham up in Norfolk with all her family. Everyone gathers to join her. And we normally see the traditional Christmas royal family walk. But this year, for the first time since 1988, the Queen is actually going to be at Windsor Castle, home alone with Philip, where she's been isolating for most of the lockdowns. And the royal family are all over the place. There was some hope that Charles and Camilla would be able to visit her at some point during the day, socially distanced outside. They're at Highgrove in Gloucestershire for Christmas. But now, of course, with the new Tier 4 restrictions, it's very unlikely they'll be able to do that. The Cambridges are up in Norfolk. They are at their home, Animal Hall, on the Queen's Sandringham estate. So members of the royal family are separated all over the country for the first time in many, many years. And that'll be really sad for the Queen.
I'm sure it will be, especially with the Duke having been so poorly as well. That, for all of us, when you have a poorly member of your family who's elderly, the feeling is to go there and be with that person and then to not be able to. And it just shows in a way that obviously, they live a very different life to most of us, but there is a sort of common humanity there, isn't there, between all of us at this point, especially at this time of year. And another thing, of course, is family rifts, right? That happens in all families. William and Harry, obviously, a very famous sort of rift that's been talked about a lot. What is this about a Christmas truce? What do you read into that? Is it likely?
Well, I mean, there has been some interesting briefing in the last couple of weeks that apparently there has been an exchange of gifts and some sort of Christmas truce. I've no doubt that, that there may well have been an exchange of gifts. And I'm sure both brothers are very keen to start to repair that relationship, which was very badly damaged by the events leading up to the Sussexes leaving the royal family, and I think in the aftermath of that, it's been badly damaged. And from what I hear from my sources, things aren't still great between the brothers. But Christmas is a time of reunion and a time of family. So even though they are thousands of miles apart, I'm sure there'll be some sort of enthusiasm to try and start to rebuild that friendship. But I don't think it's the total Christmas reunion that has been briefed.
No, and it's interesting when you say briefed. I mean, where do those briefings come from? I mean, which side is wanting to make it look like things are thawing out more than the other?
That's a very good question. I don't think either side wants it to appear as if the brothers are still at loggerheads. But I think, from what I hear, there is still a lot of repair to be done within the family and not just between the brothers.
And if we look back at the Queen herself, I mean, you think, goodness me, we were looking at some of the oldest pictures of how long she's been doing these Christmas Day addresses. Do you think, how important do you think it is to her, this moment?
I mean, I think it's a huge part of her year. I mean, the Queen's Christmas broadcast, this will be her 68th Christmas speech, as you said. It is the most, she is very involved in writing her own speech. And I think a lot of people assume it's all done by aides, it's done by her private secretaries. She is very, very hands-on about what she says, and she will understand, just as she did back in April, when we were all going through that, awful time dealing with a lockdown. she will understand the power and impact of her words on Christmas Day. This is, you know, a Christmas unlike any other Christmas that many people, you know, who have had her as queen during all her years during her reign will never have experienced a Christmas like this. She will understand the power of her words on Christmas Day, and she will have thought really carefully about what to say. It's such an important moment for her Christmas Day speech.
And do you know what I find fascinating is I've just started watching the last series of The Crown, and I think I honestly think that art influences life, because you start watching it because it's a great drama, and then you sort of become reinterested. If you've lots of people aren't that interested in the royals, you know, we have to say that. Of course, lots of people feel a little bit cynical about it all. But have you found that The Crown being on Netflix has made people, you know, look at them again, look at the Queen again?
It definitely has. Do you know what's so interesting about The Crown is that there has, you know, so much furore earlier this month about how damaging it's been for them. You know, how outrageous it is, the portrayal of the Prince of Wales, and you know how there should be a health warning saying it's drama and not fact. The Sunday Times did a poll a few weeks ago, looking at whether or not the portrayal in The Crown and The Crown itself had damaged the reputation of the royal family. Everyone assumes it's been very damaging to them. And actually, our poll found that it's had the opposite effect, that every single member of the royal family, even ones who've been, you know, not been having a great time recently, like the Duke of York, all of them have increased in popularity because of the people watching The Crown. So actually, it just goes to show there's no such thing as bad publicity, and I think The Crown proves that for the royal family.
And what I found fascinating about watching it was that there are royals who I hadn't really thought about, like Margaret or Anne, and actually they're really integral parts, their stories, in a way that they were they've sort of been overlooked in the public eye because there are such bigger royals around. But actually watching The Crown makes you realise that it's not all it cracked up to be, in a way that sometimes there isn't all that much to be jealous of.
I think that's absolutely true. I think what The Crown does very well, for all the criticism people throw at it, is that it does paint them in this, you know, gilded cage, and it does give you an idea of just how restricting and frustrating life within the goldfish bowl of monarchy can be. Despite all the wealth and privilege that comes with it, you are actually quite restricted. And, you know, we see that with the portrayal of the Prince of Wales and his marriage to Diana. We see that with Anne in the portrayal of The Crown. We see Margaret, as you mentioned, this sort of wise sage reflecting on members of the royal family, younger members of the royal family not being allowed to marry who they want to marry, because of course that was her experience many years before. So I think it does give you a very good idea of, despite the fact that they all live in palaces, it's a very strange world, the goldfish bowl in which they live in, and the public expectation is enormous.
Yeah, and one of the royals, or ex-royals, who's really sort of done that in real life is Fergie, obviously, because her life has been very public in many ways, and her feelings have been very public, and she's done something very public now, which seems a little bit odd to me. I want to hear your take on it. Roya, you can always
rely on Fergie to just go slightly off-piste. But you know, her Fergie and Friends YouTube channel and her story time with Fergie has been really successful during the lockdown.
Oh, well, there you go. Lovely stuff. Thanks so much, Roya. Have a lovely Christmas. Nice to talk to you this morning.
Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub, and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.